Brown class. Want to welcome John Gray. Well, most of you know John Gray, but he got to go on 2 medical mission trips, and he's going to be sharing some of what he experienced on those trips with us this morning. We'll start the morning off with prayer, and then we'll turn it right over to him. Lord, we are thankful for this morning, the time.
So we were in South Korea as Christian educators, and my wife got real sick over there. She was in a hospital, Korean hospital, for almost a month. So we had to come home, and we didn't feel like we could go back overseas. So I was going to a different church in 2005. I ran into Jan Milton. He was the director of missions in the small seminary in this other church. And so he goes, well, I see that you have a little medical background, because I'm bivocational. I retired from teaching at Lee Summit West after 40 years of teaching, but I also, in the summers, I would work as a respiratory therapist, which I continue to do once or twice a week. So he goes, well, you should go on these trips with us. So in 2007, I went to Cambodia and just fell in love with the whole way that they did things. So I've been to 14 different trips since 2007. For a while, it was just like every other year, but now that I'm retired, I'm trying to do at least 2, maybe 3 times a year. And so I'm going to just give you an overview of the how we do things on the field. We'll start out with Matthew 9:35. So how did Jesus approach his ministry? Well, it said that he went about the villages, and he preached the gospel, and he taught the people, and he healed the diseases. So there's a threefold ministry there. There's teaching, there's preaching, but there's healing also. And so when Jan first started this organization, he would go on the mission field. He goes, you got all these sick people. We need to do something about it. And they go, well, they can't afford to go to the doctor. I mean, the people we see, you put a blood pressure cuff on them, and they have no idea what you're doing. So he said, well, we could probably help you with that. So in conjunction with missionaries, as long as they can get things organized on their end, we'll go to different places 4 times a year. ORH goes to different places in the world, and we'll conduct a clinic, and I'll show you how they get exposed to the gospel. Now, what you're going to see here is multitudes of people that nobody cares about except Jesus, and they don't know that Jesus cares about them. So the main goal here is to show them the love of Jesus through the healing hands of a medical clinic. And when they see the love of Jesus, they're very attracted to Jesus. And then the missionaries and their workers will present the gospel to them. And we'll see lots of people come to Christ, especially along the equator. People have no idea what's going on along the equator. There is a major revival, especially in Bolivia, along the equator. Now, it may look godless here in the United States, but that's not what's happening in Uganda and Ghana and Bolivia, Peru. These places, these people are coming to Christ. So I'm going to talk about 2 of the clinics I did this last year. I went to Ghana in January. Do you remember that cold snap when it was like below 0 for a week or so? Yeah, I left here, it was -5. It was Saturday morning, it was -5. I landed in Ghana, it was 95, and it didn't change much from that the whole time I was there. And when I got back, fortunately, it wasn't -5, but and then I went to the Andes Mountains in Bolivia in July. You talk about like totally 100%, 180-degree difference. Because I'm always prepared for heat. I'm not prepared for chilly. And so I always take a jacket with me because of airports and airplanes. I wore my jacket most of the time I was in the Andes Mountains. Okay, so just quick overview of the nature of the clinic. When we get there, usually Sunday, on Monday, we organize and we count pills because everybody gets a 30-day supply of vitamins. Try to give something to this person, but not to this person. So a lot of times we'll throw worm medicine in there and other things. So we'll count pills, for different prescriptions. And then usually on Tuesday, we'll start the clinic. And the first place they go is they go through registration. Now, anybody in here can do that job. All you have to do is write what the translator tells you. So they'll talk, translator say, well, they want to go see the doctor, dentist, and they have this knot on their knee that they'd like them to take a look at it. So anybody can write that, okay? Then the next place to go is to take vital signs. And usually that's what I do. I'm in charge. I'm the old man at the end of the vital sign. And you'll see here in a minute. I get to weigh the babies and so on like that. And I just check. A lot of times I'll have nurses, but this last time, all I had was teenagers. So, I I've spent 40 years of my life with teenagers. Well, yeah, you're good at that. So they could go to two places. They can go see a doctor. And let me tell you, if we have a local doctor with us, they want to see the American doctor because American medicine is so much better than the rest of the world. They can go see a dentist, and then we can give them eyeglasses. So I'll go through these different things. And then once they get that, they'll have a prescription. It may just be, for vitamins, but they'll take it to the pharmacy and then they'll go to either a preaching service or a one-on-one. So missionaries will have their church workers there and everybody gets to hear the gospel. They don't get their medicines unless they hear the gospel. And then the last thing is they go to pharmacy. All right, so this is Ghana. We're counting pills here. This Harry Gibson, he goes on every trip. He's a dentist, and there I am. And then this is I think his name's Bill, and we're all I'm not sure why we're counting. It may be Tylenol or something, but there's a certain amount of pills for every prescription. But definitely, we got to get through the vitamins. Now, I wasn't there in Bolivia. Do you remember? Do you remember that computer glitch that happened on Friday? Yeah, I was supposed to leave Saturday morning. So everything was fine Friday evening. Saturday morning, I got up at 3:30 and it said, oh, your flight is canceled. Well, now what do I do? So I took, I was staying with Bruce, who's like 10 minutes from the airport. And I said, let's go out to the airport. Let me show you my world. And so we went out there and we negotiated, couldn't get any other thing. They said, nothing's flying into Houston from Kansas City. You got to get to Houston. You can go from Houston to Panama to Santa Cruz and so on, but nothing's leaving Houston. I thought, well, maybe I should walk down and try Southwest. I see they have flights to Houston. But anyways, I kind of gave up. I went back. Bruce said, hey, why don't you just go ahead and take a nap? While I was taking a nap, my director was frantic because there was 8 of us. And we carry medicines in with us. We couldn't have that clinic if 8 of us were gone. Because Christy, who was coming out of Raleigh, is it North Carolina? She had 6 medical bags. So he got with the travel agent, and they worked it all out. So I left Sunday morning, and so I actually got to the clinic Monday evening, and the clinic started Tuesday. So I got none of the orientation at all, but I mean, I've been on 13 other clinics, so I kind of knew what was going on. And then I had a nursing student that was a type A personality that really could organize it for me. And I just had to, a lot of times I just had to show up, initial things. So, so I wasn't there on Monday. So the other thing about that is Bruce goes, man, I could never do what you do. You know what? I think that's true for all of us, isn't it? That God has given us gifts and abilities, and things go a little bit better if we are doing that than maybe this other person. So I mean, everybody has a piece of God's puzzle, don't we? There's something for each one of us that nobody else could really do. I mean, we could under the strength of Christ, but God has gifted all of us for different things. All right, so the next thing I want to mention is crowd control. We'll take any of you for crowd control. All you gotta do is stop and point, and I don't know how you say left. Iskerio or this, I don't know. You can learn some basic phrases, go left and This is Don Rosine. He's 80 years old. And I often go, well, I'm getting too old for this, all these long trips and the bus rides sometimes will get to you like 12 hours sometimes. And Don and his wife Sharon, they go on every trip. They didn't go to the Andes because they didn't think they can handle them going up and down the mountains. And then this is just he just graduated from high school. So see our difference. We can use high schoolers, we can use retirees, we can use any of you to do crowd control. Basically, you just have to make sure, okay, everybody sit down. Okay, now you can go see the doctor. Everybody move over. Everybody move over. And can you do that? Yeah, I think you could. And believe me, they except in Albania, they're pretty compliant, and a lot of times they have their own people that kind of take charge too. Okay, the next place they go is registration. And so what you see, you got your translator here and you got your writer. Now, Christy, she has no medical background. She's a pastor's wife in Arkansas, Rogersville, Arkansas. And so she just writing what the translator tells her to do. I bet any of you could do that. Okay, this is triage in Ghana. They had a Methodist church here, a conservative gospel preaching Methodist church that is totally opposed to what's going on here in America. And so we got to meet in a really nice facility. All these are nurses. So I got to work with nurses there. And this is in the Andes Mountain, Bolivia. I'll show you a little, I'll pan back here in a minute. These are all teenagers, except for Ari. Now, Ari is a senior medical student, but the rest of them got trained. So ORH has a boot camp every June, and it's a week where they train teenagers to do vital signs, registration, all these different things. They put them up in a helicopter and land them back out in the woods and make them survive for a couple of days. So all these kids have been through and they did an excellent job. Teenagers can do an excellent job and they can get along. I don't understand all the games they play on their cell phones. All right, now here I am in Ghana. This is taking a picture of me. See what I do? I'm the old man and I just check off. So they do all the vital signs. They bring the paper to me. I check it off. You see there's a scale right here. So I weigh all the babies. Now, I get lots of volunteers on babies. So you don't stick the babies on the scale. What you do is you weigh the baby and the mom, and then you hand the baby off, and you weigh the mom, and then you subtract. If anybody 12 or under, we can't give them a full prescription. So we have to know, how much of the medicine to give them. All right, so this is in Honduras a couple years ago. So what you have here, this is Christy Holzhauser, who's the head. She's a PA, is that right? Physician assistant, but she came from nursing. So she's the one that carried in the 6 bags of medical equipment from Raleigh. And since I came on the same plane with her, they went through my bags too. So she's very, very efficient. So what you have here is you got a Mesquite lady, Mesquite Island in Honduras. She's speaking Mesquite to this nurse who's translated into Spanish. And this lady's going from Spanish to English. So you see some of this situation we have in Bolivia, it was Amara that some of them spoke. This is Dr. Durst, our main doctor. He can make sure everything works well. And Dan Jones, now Dan Jones is a physician assistant also, but he's now the director. Jan has got up in the years, he's 74 now, and he just can't do these trips like he used to. So he turned it over to Dan Jones. Now he's still in the background helping out. But Dan's out of Tennessee. He brings all his friends with him. And there's Dr. Pei. Dr. Pei is a surgeon in Chicago. And just show you all these bags and everything you can imagine. We carry a lot of stuff in with us. We have to take pretty much everything. Now, we can buy stuff locally, but you know, it's cheaper in the United States to get aspirin than it is in any place else pretty much. But if we can get it there and the missionaries say, yeah, you can get Tylenol here for a certain price, and we'll buy it there. And then we always have an OBGYN. This is a doctor from Minnesota. And she doesn't come on every trip, but somebody has to be specialized in women's health. So and then we can do a little bit of surgery, just minor surgery, removing cysts and everything. This guy had a big cyst on his neck, and this is Dr. Suh. He's removing the cyst. You can't see the water buffalo behind the curtain there, and the kids peeking in. And well, sometimes in the afternoon, my job is to keep the kids away from the doctors. Yeah. And there's Dr. Pei. This is in Ghana, and he's removing a little cyst there. And there's Dr. Gibson. Went a year and a half ago in Uganda, they had me helping Dr. Gibson pull teeth. We pretty much just pull teeth. We had fluoride treatments to all the kids. And I've seen about anything in a hospital. I haven't seen teeth that bad. So when he pulled that first rotten tooth, I was like, whoa. By the third day, I got to pull a tooth, but he chiseled it all out, and he said, "Now just go." So I took that off my bucket list. So what I do here is you got to clean all the equipment, sterilize all the equipment, and put it in little bins, and then he's like, "Hey, I need a 360." I'm like, "I have no idea what that is." He goes, "It's that one. It's an upper." What's the difference between an upper and a lower? I don't know. So he was glad to get his assistant back. So you can see how we're pulling teeth here. He has a little X-ray machine, portable X-ray machine he brings along too. So he could take X-rays. If he can't do something, he'll give the X-ray to the person and say, "Hey, go see so and so." Now, they don't do feelings. If they're not busy, they can do feelings. So if somebody's tooth is not bad enough to be pulled, then we give them Sensodyne toothpaste. So some of you have given Sensodyne toothpaste, and it's in Bolivia or Ghana right now, or Uganda. And then we give out glasses. So this is Sue Carroll. She's out in Dallas. And we have this auto refractor, and they pretty much can tell just with the auto refractor what their prescription is. Instead of would this look better, that look better, we just throw glasses on them. Okay, so this is a -1. How does that work for you? Okay, well, let's try a -1.25. So there's different, and I'll show you here in a minute. So we carry all these boxes in with us. Now, if you have glasses that are just sitting around at home, take them to Walmart, to the vision area, and the Lions Club has a donation box there. So if you want to, just bring them to me, and I'll take them over. But what happens is we send the Lions Club send those to their headquarters in Dallas, and there's somebody in Dallas that figures out the prescriptions. If you got some nice looking ones, we'll appreciate that. Not the ones that you don't wear because they're ugly, but people wear them. So anyway, so they box them up. You see, here's a -4. All these glasses are -4. So we carry all these in with us, and they come from the Lions Club. So you know how cool it is to see a 70-year-old that's never had glasses. This is the expression on their face, and they're reading a Cambodian tract here. So can you read this out to me? See, little pieces here and there. And I mean, this lady never had glasses. Okay, so then if they go these places, then they go to the evangelism. This is just this is in Ghana. Sometimes it's a small group evangelism, sometimes it's one-on-one. It just depends on how busy everything is. About 1 in the afternoon, it gets really busy. Then they go to pharmacy. Laura Broadwater is usually the one in charge of pharmacy. A lot of times we'll have a pharmacist, like we had a pharmacist from Lima, Peru, that came with us to Bolivia, and then they'll just take over. But they just fill prescriptions, and the people will hear the gospel while they're waiting for the prescriptions to be filled. So the places we went in Ghana were Winchi and Branham. So this is in Winchi. I'll show you the map here. And this is the what they said about the Winchi. He said we served 1,360 patients in 4 days. Yeah, well, we have 9 or 10 doctors and usually 2 dentists, and the glasses are what takes. We can't do more than 70 glasses a day. Yeah, we just don't have the capability. So they line up early. They're there 4 or 5 in the morning for glasses. That's the first few people through. That's what they want is glasses. We had a lady in Albania that got a bus. She was like 50 years old. She came and she goes, I just want to thank you because I needed glasses since I was 25. Because I can't afford them. They're $500 for a pair of glasses in Albania. And Albania is the second poorest country after Ukraine in Europe. And she was in tears. I mean, it gets to you. So, but we saw about 95 people. Now in Branham, they want to start a church there. I think they do have a church going there. So these were solid decisions, they felt. It depends on the missionaries. When people make decisions, is it a true decision? So we just record that they made a decision. Now, did they come to Christ? Well, it's only between them and God, right? So we got 95. So they've got a small church started there in Branham. So here's Ghana right here. So you come out of Europe, and we actually flew straight from Washington, D.C. To Agra. And then, if I can get that. Nope. Thank you. So Winchi is right here. So we had a 12-hour bus ride to Winchi, and then right up the road is Branham. And when you've done a clinic all day long and you have to pack up and don't get to take a shower or anything, you take a 12-hour bus ride to Agra, to the place we stayed. That could be a little bit wearying. And people say, well, why does your wife go along? Well, my wife will tell you that she's been in a hospital in a third world country and doesn't want to repeat it. So it's rough, and I keep thinking, how long can I keep doing this? Well, as long as God calls me, I'm gonna keep doing it. So here's Ghana. This is what it looks like in the morning. The dust from the Sahara Desert, it's a lot 3 times worse than the smog in Los Angeles. Here's our team in Ghana. That was in Branham, outside of that's the medical clinic in the background that we got to work at. Sometimes we would do schools. Sometimes we just put up tents out in the field. In Uganda, it was tents in a sweet potato field that we rented. So the thing about Ghana, it's all tribal. And I think Pastor mentioned this, that same thing in Togo, right? It's pretty tribal. So we had to get the blessing on Monday morning from the chief. Now the chief here, his mother is a Christian. I don't know about him, but we had to put his hand on us and bless us and everything to come into his village. All right, so I have this little soccer clinic, soccer ministry. When we're done doing all the triage, a lot of times there's nothing really to do in the afternoon, and you got to entertain the kids that are hanging around. So I take a street soccer ball with me. When we were in Uganda last year, one of the teenagers brought a regular soccer ball. Yeah, it lasted 30 minutes and pop. You know, they play on dirt. They you know, or so I bring the street soccer ball, and when you feel it, it feels like a tire. But I always bring one with me, and we get a game going, and then the crowd shows up, and the translators sometimes take over, and they go, "Hey, can we have that soccer ball?" I go, "You see that church over there? That pastor is going to have this soccer ball, and he'll let you use it if you just go over there and talk to him." So again, it's one more thing you can do. By the way, I didn't do anything with my soccer ball in the Andes Mountains. There was no flat area anywhere. I was gonna pump it up, and I'm like, where am I? You know, I think in downtown Coatzacoalcos, there's a soccer field for the city of 400,000, and it was a good 45-minute walk, so I didn't bother. I didn't pump it up. It's gonna go to Cape Verde in January. And we have devotions every morning. It's a real spiritual awakening for me, because Dan usually has great devotions, and I just come up back so spiritually charged up, just seeing the hand of God. You know, it's just, there's nothing cooler than seeing people who are worshiping a sun god and an earth goddess and doing sacrifices and realizing that they have to appease these gods with their life, you know, and then to say, you know, God loves you no matter what. That's our God. You know, it's a God of grace, and it is very attractive once the people understand that this isn't just a bunch of foreigners that are trying to promote their organization. We are there to love them with the hands of Jesus. This is a nice upscale area in Ghana. I bet some of you wouldn't know that. But I looked around in Ghana, and I thought, you know, I don't know if they got more than 200 houses as nice as what we have here. You know, that's the rest of the world. Somebody said, I read the statistics in the United States. If you're a family of four and you live, if your income is 32,000 or less, you know what? You're considered in poverty. Now you look this up. What's the average income for a family of four in the world? 12,000. That's the average income. He said, well, how's it possible? Well, come with me and see the mud walled huts with thatched roofs, and they have to get up in the morning with their water and bicycle a mile to the well to get water, no electricity, you know, a hole in the ground for a bathroom. You know, you do have to take your toilet paper with you. Have a souvenir from Uganda, the toilet paper they use. It's Elizabeth's midterm exam. So I was like, this is really bad. Not only is it just regular paper, but everybody knows that Elizabeth only made 60% on this exam. So that's the way the rest of the world lives. And there's their transportation there, motorcycle. And there's their dryer. Like I said, these are the nicer houses. You know, at least it's not cardboard houses or just a shack they threw up with a tin roof. A lot of the rest of the world, that's how they live, folks. I saw it in Riberalti, Bolivia, last year. The government let them go out and pick out, I think, 3 or 4 hectares of land, and they just throw up a shack, throw a tin roof on it, go down the river to wash your clothes. no electricity in there. I call it the squatters village. There's actually a name for it, but if they pay their taxes for a year, then the government lets them have that land. Here's the Branham village chief, 92 years old. We're all shocked. But he, again, we got his blessing to come into Branham. And that's where we think we got a church going. I haven't heard recently, but we saw a number of people come to Christ in Branham, including the village chief is a Christian. You see this mark right here? That's the tribe he's from. So I kept seeing all these marks on people's faces, and I'm like, so I asked my translator, Ed, said, what's that about? He goes, well, that's our tribe. He goes, you know, if we get in a fight, we have to know what tribe you're if you're my tribe. A lot of the villages will have walls around it for that tribe. So it's, you know, it's just a different culture than what we're used to. So two hours away, south of Branham is Sunyani, and there's an orphanage down there and a Christian school. And this guy, he's just such a strong Christian, just exudes the love of Christ. You know, he brought his kids up with him from Sunyani on a bus. Okay, so now Bolivia. Well, this is Pastor Matthew Elsie, and then this is his second wife, Brooke, and then Anna's back here. So what, let me see if I got this. So what went on with the Elsies is they went to Corioco back in the 90s, and they didn't see much growth. They started church. They said the Myra people are just hard-hearted. They're so, you know, we're foreigners. We have this foreign, it's not what they grew up on. And so they started church there, but his first wife, I can't think of her name, she got TB. So you know, you think, well, missionaries, God's going to protect them. You know what? I think that maybe it's harder when you're a missionary, you know, that's because I think God wants to show the people what it's like to be a Christian going through problems, you know, and we're in the same boat, aren't we? And people look at our lives and you go, oh, how can you handle that? You know, how can you handle your wife being in a Korean hospital for a month? I don't know, but though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, God is with me. So, you know, has God called you to some kind of suffering? It's to show the people around you what it's like, what how a Christian can handle those things, because maybe they're going to run into that, or maybe they're running into it right now. And you're in a hospital, and those nurses there, they see you living like a Christian. God's called you to that ministry, you know. And so what did Paul say? For the slight momentary affliction is preparing us for eternal weight of glory. You know, so we look to heaven, you know. So Matthew married Brooke about 6 years ago, and they went back to the main city in Bolivia, Santa Cruz. And so they had a ministry going on in Santa Cruz. And then they said, well, you know, this ministry is working well. We can leave it to the locals. We've trained pastors. So they went to Ribeirão up on the Brazilian border. They started church there. In the first year, they had 90 members. And that was a thriving church. Then they went out to the squatters village, and they built that church. And I think I've told you this. We went out and had two-day clinic out there. And the first Sunday of the church was the week after that. 163 people showed up. And they baptized 4 of them. So do you see what I'm talking about, revival? Can you imagine another 163 people showing up next week to our church? So pray for these people. they have a lot on their hands, you know. This is Michael is a pastor at River Alti. I just keep calling it Florida Village. This is a doctor that he actually runs an ultrasound. So when we go to Bolivia, he has his own ultrasound machine, which is really great for help to the doctors. We just never know. Sometimes we have physical therapists show up, and man, they are busy the whole time. So if you have some kind of medical specialty, we could use you. Okay, so I think I talked about this. So they went to Santa Cruz. Now there's still a small church in Corioco. So he left we left Corioco after 7 years, came back to States, and his wife was still sick. I think they went back to Santa Cruz. I think she died in Santa Cruz. And so he just really had this vision to go back to the Myra people in Corioco. So there's about 60 people there. Now we saw 1,340 patients in 4 days. A nice thing, we didn't turn anybody away. A lot of times it's Friday afternoon, and we're like, yeah, we can't do any more. We're done. I'm sorry, folks. You know, we're going to give you wellness packets, and a lot of times we'll have a nurse just kind of walk up and down and do quick checks if anybody's really bad. And when we get them, you know, we'll get them into the clinic. But this time we saw everybody that showed up. About 600 decision. Now, again, you got to kind of weigh that. The first day they said, you know, we saw 120 people come to Christ. And these Myra people, they were in tears. So they thought they had genuine decisions. The problem is sometimes when you preach to, say, a family group or a group of 10 or 12, everybody becomes a Christian. So maybe one of those did. So we saw 600 decisions. I don't know how many of those were salvation decisions, but still we're going to throw that number out there. And they were surprised because the Myra people they just don't come to Christ, but they came in tears. You lay that groundwork, you know, the years of that groundwork. Now, the church in River Alti I talked about, 163 people show up the first day. They still have 75 faithful members. So we knew that was fruit that lasted. And it's a good, strong church. Just a roof, cement pad, and open air. So this is the storefront church here in Corioco, Iglesia Bautista of Corioco, about 60 members. The pastor the people can't afford the pastor. So he does leather goods on the side. You know how a lot of small churches, the pastor has to have a second job. So, I mean, they're living very poorly. You know what it's like in Panama. Yeah. All right, so this is our group. What we did is we rented this one-star hotel. I did have hot water. We had to play the game, but no heat. So we rented this one-star hotel. It's like 4 stories, and we had the whole hotel for a week. And this is our group. You can see some translators in there, and volunteers. There's there. I was trying to get front and center, so people say, "Yeah, I was really there." So this is my teenagers that I work with for 4 days. What about that view? Huh? It's kind of blocked. Yeah, it's not a good picture there. It looks good here, but not so sure. But that's my view every day. There's a little area over here. They had a town there at one time, and they had a landslide covered the town. So a lot of interesting things. So you can see what these people do is their front door is ground level, and their back door is 2 stories up. So they get 2 pigs on stilts. That's how they live. So yeah, I didn't pull out my soccer ball. If you're interested, read about the road to death from La Paz to Corioco. It used to be like 80 people died a year, but they now have guardrails and a shoulder on the road. So this is coming from 6,000 feet. We went down to 3,000 feet, then back up to about 12,000. Then we climbed on up. So this is our hotel. This is, I think, Thursday. The crowd, you can't see the crowds up the street and over the hill. So a lot of these people walk 2 or 3 hours to get there. A lot of them, Friday morning, basically the crowd was set for the day because they slept all night. And somebody came and numbered everybody. So you want to go to the bathroom? Well, you're 229, fine 228, get behind them. I just, that's kind of weird to me. This is what the Myra women wear. About a third of the women coming through the clinic wore. You would call it Inca, but Inca is just a tribe that took over the Quechuas and the Aymaras and the other tribes that they just were more warlike than the rest of the tribes. So this is a Myra, and they're in the Bolivian Andes Mountains. And that's what it looks like. You see the cutbacks here? So we went down, cut back up. And then we're about 12,000 feet. We kept going up and up to 15,247 feet above the tree line. Then we came back down to La Paz, which is 11,900. Mine don't have a problem in La Paz, but La Paz is on the mountain. At the top of the mountain, it's a big plateau. That's where a lot of people live, El Alta. And it was 13,300 feet up there. When I got to that airport, my heart rate was 120. I was like, when am I going to get my next breath? and so on. So how do they get from El Alta to downtown La Paz to go to work? They have 4 gondola lines. So I don't know if you see if there's a gondola here. So that's how they can't do subways, and the roads are like any big city. They're just really crowded. So they come back and forth on gondolas. Different culture, right? All right. So people ask me, where are you going next? Well, the next place I'm going is Cape Verde in January. Now there's other trips going on, but again, it's timing and finances and everything. So Cape Verde is off of the coast of Africa, right here. It's a Portuguese former colony. So you go to the Azores and then down through here. I'm going to Peru in May 2025. Maybe you've heard the story about the people that came out of the jungle of Peru, that they didn't realize that tribe was back there. But we're going outside that area, and it's a 12-hour bus ride. Cambodia in January of 2026. So Peru, the main headquarters of the Incas is Cusco, and Cusco is right here. So we're gonna go up here into the jungle and see if we can reach people. There's always a person that's been trained to be a pastor, to either start a church or they've started church and it's not growing. So we want to get churches started. We want to see people come to Christ. So what do I need? Ready to buy some toothpaste or toothbrushes and Sensodyne toothpaste. It's for sensitive teeth. So I'm out. I gave them all out. And then I don't have the funding for Peru and Cambodia yet, but God will take care of it. All right. Any questions?
What are most of the people they do for employment? I mean, I'm sure they don't have steady jobs, but what is they do for employment?
People ask questions about those kind of things all the time. Mainly agriculture. Most of the people are subsistence farmers.
But like in the plaza where you've got a house on top of a house, you have a house, what are those people?
I could look it up.
Oh, I whacked it too. I
don't know. Now, La Paz, is founded by the Spanish. We stopped at a church, San Francisco church there, built in 1560, gold. A lot of gold in those them there mountains, and Corioco was silver lining. So other than that, I'm not really sure. People say, well, what about who's the president? I have no idea. I send the money in, I show up, and He said, well, how do you get a hotel room? I don't know. They just show up. How do you get your tickets? They just show up. Sir?
John, you carry a lot of supplies in. Do you have to carry supplies back out that you don't use or do?
No, we give them to, what we don't do, we give them to the local clinics.
Okay.
Yeah, so we carry a lot of empty bags back out. Now, the glasses will pretty much take back with us, but I had somebody donate a bunch of respiratory equipment, and I took an extra bag one time and came back with an empty bag. We gave it to the local clinic. I can take donated stuff. But my sister-in-law said, hey, we got all this stuff donated, all these medicines donated. I looked, expired. Why did CVS donate that? Anything expired, they give, you know. But I can't take anything that's expired. So I looked through the whole table of medicines, and I did find one thing that wasn't expired. So I can take things, but the Sensodyne and the toothbrushes, pastor's brother gives me oral gel, and I'll use that. But that's my little niche that I bring in. But they get heavy, so I can't like, you know, I can't like take a whole suitcase of Sensodyne. It would be half a suitcase.
So are all the supplies donated, or is there any kind of a fund where they purchase them, or like all the medicines too, that they take in?
That's part of the,
Who pays to it?
I don't know.
Oh,
Well, I think it's part of the it's 2,800 usually for a trip. I think they take, that's hotel, food,
Oh.
and then that also, I think, takes care of the medicine, but there are medicines that get donated, yeah.
so everybody pays their own $2,800,
Mhm.
and that pays for your food and hotel?
Hotel and transportation and medicine, eyeglasses and all that, yeah.
What-
Yeah, I got to Bolivia and Christy coming out of Raleigh, she had 6 bags of medical equipment. It wasn't medicine, it was medical equipment, you know, CSR. I was like, oh, so we had to go through customs and they went through all of hers and they opened mine. I'm like, oh, and I thought they were gonna confiscate my toothbrushes, but they just took pictures of it. They don't want you bringing stuff in and selling it. You gotta let them know. And we have to carry a letter from the local government that we are there to do a clinic and we have their approval.
What, like to go to Verde, what vaccines would you have to have, like, let's say people have normal vaccines, you know, here, what other vaccines do you have to get?
It'd be easier for me to name the ones I don't have to have, but basically smallpox everywhere. Everywhere you got to show that you have smallpox vaccine, hepatitis. I can't think. Yeah,
B
very-
or all of it?
it varies, but definitely smallpox. You have to have it, and I got to get mine renewed. It's only for 10 years.
Smallpox, hepatitis, which most people have TB, you know, but.
I don't think we have to do TB.
In the hospital.
Oh yeah, they send the TB patients to me.
And,
They put my N95 on.
yeah. Anything else, any other vaccines or?
You know, it used to be COVID, but nobody asked for COVID anymore. I still carry my card just in case. Last question? Okay,
All right, thanks, John. Go ahead. Oh,
Which is the most needy place
that I've been
that you've been? Pretty much.
either Ghana or Cambodia. Cambodia makes their money on making t-shirts,
Making what?
t-shirts,
T-shirts.
sports garb. They got a pay raise a few years ago, those ladies,
So how much?
to 95 cents an hour. They were making 50 cents an hour to make t-shirts for, you know, athletic garb. And so when I was there, we watched a big dump truck show up with like 50 ladies in the back going to the garment factory, making 95 cents an hour.
Oh.
They did pass a law that they could get time and a half after 40 hours.
Thank you, John. Thank you very much. we're gonna pray and you'll be dismissed. So if you would like to take part in John's trips, you can do that. So contact him and you can help donate to the funds that he needs to go and also provide things like the Sensodyne and glasses and different things like that.
Yeah, we'll get a bin out here. I'm not in a hurry because it takes like 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
For people that don't. But we'll put a bin out, and I do have cards up here if you want to see my website, see all my pictures from Bolivia. It's a Facebook page.
Okay, very good. All right, let's pray. Heavenly Father, we're thankful for the work that you're doing around the world and using John as a vessel for some of that ministry. And Lord, I ask that all these individuals that made decisions that'll take root in their life, that they will serve you and be faithful to you. What a tremendous opportunity to share Christ with a lost and dying world. May we have the same boldness to plant seeds all around us. And even in this country, the need is great. And help us to be light to the world. We pray these things in your precious name. Amen. Yeah.